Welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell Podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course. Pleased to be joined by the girls basketball coach at Northville High School. That, of course, is Todd Gudith. Todd, welcome back to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me back, Casey.
All right. Got a big win. I think you're 2-0 in conference play so far in the division, beating a pretty good Heartland team. And that was like the first win that you guys have had against Heartland in quite a bit of time. What was it like going down to Heartland and getting that big win?
Any win in the division is big. But from a historical context, I mean, I think we were 0-12 against Heartland over the last 10 years. We had a couple good battles with them over that time period, but most of the time they just had a little bit more talent than we did. They've been one of the top teams in the region over that time span, top 10 teams over that time span, and so it was big in that sense of just trying to get over that hump, and to do it on the road. It's just kind of and falling behind early, just kind of adds to that. So it was definitely a big win for us.
Yeah. So before the season, we had you on and you talked about, the league and all that stuff. And, you guys were picked first. And as everybody knows, somebody has to be. And the coaches voted you guys. So obviously you bring a lot back with, with Eva and Sydney, of course, a couple of people we already had on this channel. But just kind of talk about just how you guys have kind of done so far this season.
We're off to a really good start. I mean, we're 8-1. Our only loss is to Mercy, who's still undefeated at this point. We knocked off Traverse City Central over the holidays, and they came into our place undefeated. And so we've had two good wins in the division, both on the road against a really good Canton team, and again a really good Heartland team. So our girls have really kind of stepped up. I think we've gotten a little bit better than we are from at this point last year. And a lot of it has to do just with our experience. And I mentioned that was probably the reason why we got voted as, preseason favorites. But like you said, somebody has to be, voted that way. I don't really feel, though, that we're, looking at that. We're not even thinking about that. I kind of still think of us as an underdog in a way, just because, we still haven't done it yet. We haven't been that favorite over the years or that powerhouse team in our division. So, I think we're still playing kind of with that chip on our shoulder, that underdog role, that we still have a lot to prove. And this year, we're trying to make some noise.
Yeah, and it's just, I mean, everyone thought it was a different year. It's going to be obviously with Heartland and Brighton having two new coaches. Oh, by the way, who I saw in the last few weeks, I saw Don Palmer at Milford, and then of course Paul Ash is coaching the freshman boys at Brighton. So just going in there and obviously looking at right now, because this is a big opportunity for a lot of teams to step up, and remember, Heartland's still good, Howell is still good, and Brighton is still good too, along with you guys. It's this is still a pretty good division. There's about almost every team could win the division. Obviously that number is going to get smaller as the year goes on, but overall, what do you think you guys have to do to get to where you kind of need to go?
Sure. It's like you said, it's early yet. It's nice to get off to a good start, 2-0 with the division. Try to get as many wins early on as possible. It's definitely harder to play those teams the second time around. And like you said, there's probably 6 teams. I don't think you're kind of Canton and Salem also are going to be in the mix in the division. And I know there's going to be a bottom half of our division and a top half when it's all said and done, but whatever teams finish in the bottom half, and we certainly could still end up in that position. We're no means, way better than everybody. So whoever finishes that bottom half of the division, they're still going to have something to say about who wins this thing. Teams can knock off anybody any night. And so if you're kind of looking ahead on your schedule, you're kind of missing the point, because, the team that you got, up next is the big one.
Well, awkwardly enough, the next team on your schedule is a big one. Awkwardly enough, it's your biggest rival. Of course, Novi is coming into Northville. Of course, there'll be a doubleheader with the boys, as typically Novi and Northville like to do. Just to play, the first Novi Northville game, and I know you've been in tons of them. You've gotten them a couple times. They've gotten you a couple times. Remember that buzzer beater from a few years ago?
Yeah.
What's that going to be like going in and trying to with those two. What is it like when Novi and Northville get together in sports? I've seen it firsthand in different other sports, but what is this rivalry like?
I mean, everybody knows each other. I mean, the kids all know each other. They're all, either friends from, different sports they've played, AAU, other travel, things they've done. Some of them are, almost live in the same neighborhood. The border is that close between, going to Northville schools or going to Novi schools. So there's a lot of familiarity with each other. The coaches all know each other. So that makes it, it's fun but challenging at the same time because they know what we do, we know what they do, and so you really just kind of have to settle it on the court. And like you said, I mean, there's been years where they were better, a little bit better than us, and we ended up, getting them, and they've turned the tables on us, a couple times too. But the hardest thing for us, I think, is to kind of flip the switch. We went from a big win on Friday night against Heartland, and now we have to kind of put that one aside, and we need to move on and focus on the task at hand. So it's nice to get a good win on Friday night, but you celebrate that for a couple hours, and then you got to kind of put it aside and move on to the next one.
Yeah. And I don't think you need to say anything else because and of course nothing fires up people more than rivalry games. And they're really how your team's really kind of been performing. Eva and Sydney really have kind of taken that leadership role with the team. What has that been like to see?
You know what? Being 4-year varsity players, you really watch their growth over the whole time, and they've really matured and developed into good leaders, more vocal, doing the things on and off the court that we need to be successful. They've definitely stepped up their game both offensively and defensively. And when you see some of our top players doing that, it kind of trickles down to everybody, and all of a sudden everybody else just kind of rises the level of their play just that much more, and that makes us a pretty good team, collectively.
Yeah. And really kind of just preview these next few weeks because you've got some pretty tough teams. You got Novi and of course Brighton's. I believe Brighton's coming to your place.
Yeah, we got Brighton Friday, and quite frankly, I can't even think about them right now. Like I said, we really got to take this thing one game at a time. It's a 7-week gauntlet. That's what we got left. There's 7 weeks. It's a huge stretch, and every team is going to be somebody you got to focus on. There's those years that sometimes the division maybe is a little weaker, or there's a couple teams that are like really down. That that if you have kind of an off night, you can still get away with it and still pull out a win. And this is not the year for that. You have an off night, you're going to get knocked off. And so, we can't kind of skip over a team and start focusing on somebody else down the road and spend our time at practice, focusing on what they do. We need to really, like I said, need to work on each team, step by step, and just kind of chip away at it. Cause this 7-week stretch is going to be, it's going to be brutal trying to get through.
Yeah, for sure. And really just kind of, going into, these next few weeks and really kind of seeing what it's all about. Just going on the road, seeing all these teams, seeing all these teams twice. It's definitely going to be a challenge for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, when you're playing a team twice within a 2-3 week time span, there's not really a whole lot of difference that you're going to be doing at practice when you only got a handful of practices in between. So it's really important to kind of get that first one. So beating Canton, beating Heartland that first time was huge for us, because we know it's not going to get any easier when they come to our place to play. We're not the biggest team. We have nobody over 6 foot. We've been dealing with nothing but physical, athletic post players, it seems like, for the last 5-6 games. And so it's been, we've had some matchup challenges that our team has had to kind of overcome. And, sometimes it's taken us a quarter or two to kind of get adjusted. But we found a way to kind of, chip away at it and figure out how to defend better and give us a, best chance to win the game.
Yeah. All right. Well, Todd, Gudith, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us. And, best of luck the rest of the season. We'll definitely have you on again sometime.
Thanks, Casey. Anytime. Take care.